Alright, everybody, Scott Golden here with Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel, and we are here with the review of the second week of the Impact Wrestling Rebellion 2020 series, I guess you'd call it, show, whatever. Can't really call it a pay-per-view, can't call it a special event, because it wasn't that special. Don't know what to call it, but needless to say, here it is. So we go into the night being kind of dismayed because there's a good bit of talent that can't be on the event. Maybe it should be that we should be easier on the event for that reason. But at the same time, if you cannot produce a high quality product, you should leave your main talent, the people who are most valuable to your brand, for the second night, not the first. And B, you probably are going to want to maybe hold off the event until more people that are in line with the storylines you want to portray can perform. Or C, you might want to just do some recap shows with some new interviews or something different, especially if you supposedly have this large library of footage that goes on a streaming service. They did none of these things. Instead, they came off looking like a third-rate independent who happens to have a television deal, and it's frustrating because there is some, not much, but some good talent in Impact Wrestling. Most of it unable to showcase itself because either A, it already had, or B, they were unable to perform due to the COVID virus epidemic locking them down in their respective homes. Now, a couple of things. Number one, the issue throughout the industry where no one admits to having a COVID virus issue or we don't call it COVID, we call it the situation. Where this became popular, I have no idea. But would everybody who does this please go out in your front yard, headbutt the ground as hard as you can until you give yourself a concussion, come back to and join the real world for just a second. It is frustrating, it is annoying, it is pointless. Everyone in the world knows what's going on. Why do we all act like we're on the same page here? The situation. The problem. Is this like middle school and a girl first had her period and we're all embarrassed to say pandemic? I don't get it. I won't get it. It's stupid. Anyway, so Chris Bay, Suicide, Trey Miguel, and Rohat Ruju, pronouncing some of those wrong, in a 4-way X Division match. And a couple things. I don't know who all but two of these people are. I'm not a regular Impact viewer, and nothing that happened in this match made me want to become one. Match starts with all four men in the ring. Standing switches, we all do comedy spots, tricking the heels into working on each other in casually going around about with go-behinds, blah, blah. Bray and Rahet take Miguel in, ganged up on him, Suicide showing off, one-upping each other on who could hurt Suicide more. Now, Suicide is a video game character from the TNA era. Psst! Hey, want to hear some news that occurred a couple years ago? TNA died, but we still raise it like it matters. We still raise it like the brand is something we should care about. But if we should care about it, wouldn't it still be around? Anyway, one thing I will compliment here that I think is really interesting. To me, Impact Wrestling, and no offense to the talent that's there, but the way I look at it as an outsider is Impact Wrestling is where people go when they can't get another national promotion to give them attention. It makes sense to want to go to national television. It makes sense to want to have a contract. It makes sense to want to have a contract to supplement your independent dates or your international dates. I don't begrudge the talent for going there, but anybody who thinks that going there is going to raise your stock unless you have really standout matches, not so much. It just there's nothing here that's going to really be like I have to steal this person from Impact and bring them to MLW or AAA or AEW or WWE. No. It can happen, but it's rare. It's just sad. But I mean, I don't begrudge the men and women who are part of the business who want to make a living. Of course not. If you can make a living and be on television while you're there, why not? But at the same time, if you have another choice, please use it. So, Suicide makes a comeback. He locks in an octopus on Bay. Miguel takes Rohat out. Suicide lock both in a double submission. Rohat takes him out. They all three exchange strikes, leading to Rohat kicking both men to different corners, and then hits running elbows, sweeping moves. Suicide come back, hits a springboard arm drag on Rohat. Rana on Bray and went for the clothesline. This is dodged. Then they do the Matrix move. Chris Bay and Miguel go at it for a while, getting a series of near falls, and then they go to the floor with a Rana. Rohat gets nailed with a schoolboy, and then a 2 count. Suicide fakes Bay into hitting a dive on Rohat and followed with a senton from the apron. Foolish move, especially in an empty arena. Into a second rope flip over the top to take everyone out. Yeehaw! We can do fancy flippy moves in front of nobody on a show that no one watches. Great. Anyway, back to the ring. Trey gets a 2 count and hits a moonsault on the foot stomp. And then we hit a tornado DDT on Suicide. And then there's a block. Gets up and suplexes. Top rope plancha by Chris Bay. And Suicide gets to a pin attempt broken up. Huge kick by Bay into a 2 count with a double underhook slam. Rohat with a jumping uppercut on Suicide. Rohat hits a sweeping neckbreaker on Trey. The X Factor for 2 count. Man, this match feels long, and I'm not even near the end of my notes. Suicide takes over, and Bay went for superplex on Trey. And then we see a double Trey 19. Trey hits a Meteora on Suicide. It's just, if you like matches where it's kind of like you're going and watching somebody, teenage kids on their trampoline in their backyard doing moves, if you like independent wrestling where nothing makes sense and who wins really doesn't matter, if you enjoy wrestling where the work rate out throws the story because there isn't one, this match is for you. If none of these things apply, please stay away because you will go prematurely bald. Josh Matthews and Madison Rayne walked us through a recap of night 1 and then run down the rest of the card for night 2. So, a couple of things. I really feel for Josh Matthews. Josh Matthews has been with Impact / TNA for years now. And that's just really sad because he's a talented guy and he has a lot of potential as a broadcaster. I'd actually like to see him do some broadcasting outside of pro wrestling. I think that might be fun. Madison Rayne really has stepped up to be a tremendous broadcaster. I love her in this role. I didn't enjoy her as a wrestler very much. Wasn't my cup of tea. But really, she's found a voice in this role, and it's great to see. And I like the interplay between them each week. it's something that makes me tune in and go, well, at least I got that. Actually, oddly enough, the same for Beth Phoenix on NXT. I don't care for the NXT announcers right now, but Beth Phoenix brings a real gritty. I've been there, I've done this, I know what I'm talking about, even, and I hate to say it this way, but the average thought would be, even though I'm a woman, I have credibility, and she's transcended being a woman in a predominantly male role. Shout out to, or alert to, independent wrestling promoters, when you go back live, if you really care about getting a diverse audience, if you really care about growing your profitability, put a woman in the broadcast booth at least for half your event. Do something different, because here's the deal. If you want to appeal to a wide section, you have to treat men and women as equals. Now, I know in wrestling that hasn't always been done, and for a good reason. Up until Renee Young, I don't think we've seen a woman that was really good behind the microphone or treated seriously behind the microphone. Now, I'm not counting every independent, because I'm sure there's been women that have been good announcers on the independent scene, but I'm talking at a national level. And we're going to pretend that if a program has national television, it's at a national level. NXT, WWE with Renee Young, and now Impact with Madison Rayne have all proven that women, given the proper production quality assistance, can be vibrant members of a broadcast team. Independents should follow suit. Here's why. It's not just to be PC. I think PC for the most part is BS. But you want to make money, right? Now, guess who spends money? Women. Women spend money on merchandise. You don't believe me? The majority of shopping ads are targeted toward the female population. Guess who else spends money like water? Teenage girls, who happen to be future women. Therefore, having a voice for your female population of fans is a brilliant idea. And I know most male promoters, especially those, let's say, over the age of, 50, are going to be like, you can't do that. That's not the way it was in 1983. Guess what? 40 years later, we've updated the algorithm here. So let's make it happen. Anyway, so Josh Matthews FaceTimes Tessa Blanchard, which I loved. Hey, we've used technology for something useful other than looking at our phone in the middle of a match. He asks her about not being able to compete. Good question. Now, if I'm Tessa Blanchard, I've been stripped of my title and I am livid. And I'm angry. She doesn't show angry. She shows sad. And so Gloomy Gus Tessa Blanchard, who is the first woman to ever hold a company championship, does not protest the fact that things are going to be, that the championship's going to be held up, or that someone's going to compete in her place, or anything like that. It's stupid. She says, I'm going to come back stronger. Well, duh. If you come back weaker, you're going to be useless. She says she's training every day. I hope so. There's nothing else for you to do. Asks about Elgin's threat to take the championship, to which Tessa says she'd love to shut him up. So unless he comes to Mexico, she won't be willing. She won't be walking out as champion. Why? Why can't we just say championships are on hold for champions who can't travel due to the virus? I think a world full of 7 billion people dealing with the same virus would understand. And the few fans who would think about the logic holes probably aren't watching your product anyway, because there's so many logic holes in it, it might as well be wrestling Swiss cheese. Okay. Plus, I'm looking at this and going, if I'm Tessa Blanchard and I've worked this hard to get there, I'm going to file a lawsuit against Impact Wrestling for stripping me of my championship due to an act of God. I've got a lawsuit on my hands here, folks. Anyway, then we get the package for the Counterculture versus the Deaners. Now, I haven't been around Impact that long, so I don't really understand what the Deaners are. But as best I can tell, they're a knockoff on the whole Duck Dynasty deal. Joseph Ryan, otherwise known as Joey Ryan, otherwise known as the um, male anatomy suplex guy, is never going to be a favorite of mine. I will not apologize for this. I do not consider what he does comedy because potentially he could cost promoters sponsors, which, hi, we all want to make money, right? This is a business. This isn't us all, you know, banging our big toes in sandboxes. This is a business, and it's bad business to have a guy doing that much ridiculous stuff. Sorry, you're not going to sell me any differently. Anyway, the fact that he's on a national TV project anywhere insults the very basis of a business where potentially he's cost people sponsors. I don't doubt that he has. I have no proof that he has. If someone has proof that he has, please post it below in the comments section. And if I'm falsely saying that he never has, I guarantee you at some point he will, because there's no one that has any business sense that's outside the wrestling bubble that's going to say, sure, let's bring in a guy who's trying to be a sleazy adult film star who basically is over the top. Now everyone's going to say, wait a minute, what about Val Venus? Val Venus was a different time, a different era, 20 years ago, when things were much different, and it was toned down and it was edited. You cannot let a gimmick like this go on the independent scene and not expect that there's going to be blowback, brushback, and all that stuff. Anyway, so now he's toned down the character. He tries to get his hands on him. Jake overpowers Ryan. Ryan runs to the ropes. Jake gets the upper hand several times, tossed Ryan around the ring, whipped him around, blah, blah. Ryan manages to cheap shot Jake, gets things going in his direction, uses the ring post. We go to commercial, the best part of the match so far. Ryan has been working over the injured shoulder. Ryan goes for a shoulder, forced body slam. Jake blocks it, sends him to the buckle, manages to body slam on second attempt, and then transitioned into a submission. Let's see. Jake then would try to mount a comeback, but can't get it done. Gets cut off. Jake lands a suplex and running tackle. He dodges Ryan's lariat attempt, hits the backplex, and finally gets Ryan down. Jake comes back with some elbows. Lariat clothesline for near fall. Follows him to the floor, hits a plancha, followed by a second running plancha, who's trying to make it back into the ring. Again, why we do planchas when there's nobody there, and you can get hurt, because you can't always guarantee someone's going to catch you. You can guarantee it 90% of the time, but still a 10% risk with no audience is a dumb risk. Anyway, Jake hits the sit-out powerbomb for 2 count. Ryan goes back to the shoulder. Ryan goes for a second super kick, but it's blocked. Ryan rolls up, and Cousin Jake with a hand on the rope to win the match because he hits the reversal. We could throw this match away and no one would have noticed, no one would have cared. So, then we continue the stupidity. Want to know how? Well, let's see. Rosemary was at a bar, and she's talking about having to be in a Full Metal Mayhem match. Now, let's get this straight. The announcers have said that Full Metal Mayhem is a dangerous match. I agree. They say it takes years off people's careers. I agree. Then 2 questions. 1, why are women involved in it? Because women are not sexist, factual, take different levels of punishment than men differently, which means it's more likely that a woman is going to get hurt in a match like this than a guy, both in real life, potentially, and in storyline. So, why would these women sign up for this match to be in an empty arena in front of no people? Problem number 1. Number two, if it's going to shorten their careers, why would they do it if there's nothing on the line for it? So anyway, Rosemary's at the bar, and she picks up her phone, and she talks to Talia, and she is talking to her by cell phone, and they're having a conversation while we're looking at a grainy version of a cell phone. Now, if this was the only way we could do the promo, I guess we can tolerate it. But wait a second. Time out. Earlier in the program, we get clear video. How do we get clear video? Because Josh Matthews sits down and FaceTimes Tessa Blanchard. Now, either we're too lazy for Rosemary to FaceTime, Talia, or we just didn't think this through, or somehow this being in a bar means so much to the storyline that the quality of the promo can suffer as a result. Anyway, Rosemary tries to get Talia to want to be involved in the match. She says that Jordana Grace has been replaced by Havoc, otherwise known as Jessica Havoc, otherwise known as, I believe, the girlfriend of Sami Callihan, so that explains why she's there. Talia refused to fight her. Talia told Rosemary that this is what she wants. Said they could go to Vegas as girlfriends once she's done with Havoc. Rosemary is, kind of half interested in this. And then we get a video package recapping what appears to be months of a feud between these two women, which I gladly skipped because, quite honestly, if you couldn't hook me in the first 30 seconds of that promo, you're not going to hook me in watching these two women beat the heck out of each other for several months prior in a video package, which I know that you just put together to fill time. No. Anyway, so we go to the Full Metal Mayhem contest here, which, for the record, means nothing to the future of the women's division because nobody talked about it leading to a title shot. Nobody talked about it leading to unicorns farting rainbows. Nobody talked about it meaning anything. So that means these women are so stupid in storyline. They're so stupid that they put the body on the line for nothing. Anyway. Both have new looks going in. Rosemary says that she didn't need to do this. She could chase after Sue Young, and they could go chase after Jordana Grace. Havoc rejected the idea. Match starts, and Rosemary stapling Havoc's hand and stomach, at least until Havoc blocks it, and then she uses the staple gun with a clothesline, stapler, and then Havoc staples her over and over again. So let me get this straight. Two women who are in front of nobody do a wrestling sequence using a staple gun or stapler on television in front of nobody in what 20 years ago would have been a violent scene and now is seen as a comedy spot. And so now, let's go over to AEW for a minute, wherein we have, Havoc, what's his, I can't even think of his first name, that's how little he matters to me. Jeremy Havoc, Justin Havoc, whatever his name is, the English kid. So he uses a staple gun. So women have just done it better than him on another promotion. Jimmy Havoc, there we go. So women have just done it better than him in another promotion. So how did he not get completely emasculated by the fact that women just outdid him? And should AEW be pushing him now that women can do the same thing he can do? I mean, just think this stuff through. For the women, it's insulting. For the men, you've just neutered part of the hardcore deal everybody respect each other and do creative things, but not stupid things. That would be a really good idea, especially in 2020. Anyway, so Rosemary hits a sling blade, follows up with weak-looking punches. We see road signs. We see striking by Havoc. We see power advantage by the much larger Havoc. We see a big boot. We see tackle in the corner, which is dodged. We then see Havoc miss. Rosemary ties a chain around Havoc's neck. That's not dangerous. And then she makes a pulley so we could potentially upset parents whose children try this. Somehow there's a reference to killing James Mitchell, which I assume is part of the storyline, which also makes me wonder, okay, so we have murder and we have a woman laughing, so when did this become an episode of, like, women who kill? And then we see Havoc take down Rosemary. Havoc brings in more weapons, including a pipe that bounced when she tosses it in the ring. So it's... I love weapons that bounce. Ask Pamela Anderson. Okay, inside joke. Anyway, so Havoc hits some running boots and then uses a garbage can lid and then smashes Rosemary in the face with a chair. Man, they love these chairs and chains and weapons, right? Suddenly we see Nevaeh, who nobody seems to want to acknowledge who she is or why she's there, except for the fact that Madison Rayne seems to know who she is but won't tell anybody. So here's the deal. You bring a talent into a not full arena. You put them on national television, but we don't tell them anything. We don't tell anybody anything about who they are. Yet we want people to care about them. Are the people booking this, like, on drugs? What is it? And I understand that someone's going to say, it's story arc building. They're building anticipation for you to tune in next week. If you've told me that she doesn't matter, she won't tell me what she's about, even with a sentence of, she's crazy, we don't know what she's going to do, we don't know why she's here, but we know she's dangerous, something, then there's no reason for me to care to see her next week or the week after or the month after. Give me a reason to want to see her again, other than the fact that she looks nice. Anyway, so, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, they're brawling around. They Havoc and Rosemary brawling around the ring. Samoan drop on the ramp, which is just ouch. Exchange weapon strikes. Rosemary protected herself using a hard hat, which I think is kind of funny. Havoc tosses Rosemary into another corner chair and chokeslams her onto a bed of chairs. Again, I mean, I've seen that in death matches. I've seen that in like CZW. It doesn't belong on national television, especially when it's been done better earlier in the year in AEW. It's just, why do these spots for the sake of doing spots? And then, we're back in the ring. She tries to choke Rosemary with a chain, but eventually Rosemary grabs the supposed lead pipe, and gets a victory. Why Rosemary wins and not Havoc, when Havoc is a much larger person, therefore should have more power, therefore when she uses weapons should do more damage, I do not know. Again, skippable. Completely skippable. Someone by the name of Gia Miller, who I guess is the version of the interviewer de jour in Impact, interviews Willie Mack. I don't particularly hear from Willie Mack, especially when he defeated Ace Austin, who's one of the few people in Impact that I would go out of my way to pay to see. And Rich Swann about the win last week. Mack says he's always looked up to the X Division champions of the past, and so he's really happy to be a champion. Glad you're happy. I'm not sure it draws ratings. Anyway, Swan told Mac that he had all he needed to be champion. Johnny Swinger interrupts them and says he has been promised a title shot. Then we fill time with an Impact Plus moment. I hate this. I despise this. What it says is we as a company do not have enough confidence in our talent or the current state of our company to give them a full television show. We are so desperate for you to stay tuned in. We're going to show you things that we hope is going to bring back positive memories so you will stay tuned into the program. This is stupid. Okay. So then we see Miller try to ask Elgin again about the championship. Elgin repeated what he said last week, says he's upset that Tessa and Eddie can't be there, but he's still going to walk away the champion one way or another. He wanted to have the opportunity to send them to the hospital. He says the results won't change. He's walking out of their champion. Video package on the whole trajectory of Michael Elgin chase to the World Championship, which I guess has gone on over a year. It's fine. I skipped by it because, again, you haven't made me care about him winning anything. With the promos he's cut, he just looks like a bitter guy. Anyway, he comes down to the ring wearing his ring gear and with a mic in hand. Give him a microphone. Why? Cuts a promo saying that he went to Rebellion when he made his debut and promised to become world champion. That was last year, and his goal hasn't changed. Calls out Tessie and Eddie for being scared of him, and thus neither had shown up. Elgin brings out a referee. He brings out a ring announcer. He starts bullying the ring announcer and the referee. He then says they should raise his hand for the championship. So then we see Moose come out with the old TNA championship belt. Can somebody shoot me now? Okay, so Moose, who's a good talent, comes out with an old championship belt, which we've reactivated for some television special or pay-per-view special or network special or something a few weeks ago. And he's talking about how he's a TNA champion. So he's a champion of a dead organization. Yeehaw. So anyway, he wants to fight Michael Elgin, and then they swear at each other, and then he says he should have the right to fight, and he understands the pain of working through it and not having an opponent for tonight. They agree that Testa's holding the title hostage. Okay, so it's not the pandemic, it's the champion. Sure, guys, you don't look like complete dingleberries for that viewpoint, not at all. So Moose then says it's wrong to say he's no world champion, that there's no world champion because he's the TNA champion and he's right there. Elgin cuts him off and says that Moose has been running over initial TNA members, but Elgin understood that TNA's in the past. He respects the past, but it's now Impact. Moose said that while Elgin was out there trading wins with other people, Moose had been sending down challenger after challenger. Hernandez makes his way out there. Another former TNA guy who basically interjects himself into the match and says that Moose had never beaten him. He's interjecting himself into the main event of this Rebellion debacle. Okay, so match starts with all men brawling outside the ring. Elgin gaining an early upper hand, as well he should, because if he's been fighting for a year, he should be pretty ticked off that his championship opportunity has been taken away. Everybody uses power moves. Shoulder tackle on Elgin by Hernandez. Moose hits a drop kick, but then was hit with a Northern Light suplex by Elgin. Hernandez uses his power, and then we see a body slam on Moose. Strikes trades between Hernandez and Elgin. Then we see Elgin hit the single leg Boston Crab. Moose tries to break it up, but gets a dragon screw leg whip for his trouble. And Hernandez went for the superplex on Elgin. Stopped by Moose. Elgin drops Moose, and then Hernandez hit the ladder with a missile dropkick for 2 count. Big guy shouldn't be doing these moves. Back from commercial, Elgin's working over Hernandez in the corner. Moose comes back and inserts himself in the strike exchange. I hit you, you hit me. I hit you, you hit me. We all go party. And then a running clothesline takes the running boot by Moose. Moose hits the Okada dropkick on Elgin and goes for the superplex on Hernandez. Elgin connected with a twisting senton on Moose. All 3 men are down. More strikes. Hernandez gets the upper hand for a bit. His upper hand's broken up by Moose. Let's see. Hernandez hits Moose with some clotheslines. Moose looks like he's basically needing an oxygen mask or an oxygen tank because he can barely breathe. Then we see a big boot and a butter toss, but Moose blocks him from it. Exchange some more strikes. Wow, these guys are superhuman. They take a lot of strikes, eh? Power bomb followed by a plancha for a near fall. Moose with the no jackhammer needed on Elgin, but later dodged. And then we see German suplexes. Power bomb, but Hernandez stops that. He hits a German suplex of his own. Elgin powered up and hits a double German on both guys, covering Hernandez for a near fall. Elgin hits a kick combo on Moose and then goes for clothesline. Moose hits his go to hell for a near fall. Elgin up, drops Hernandez with a big lariat. Goes for the Elgin bomb, but interrupted by Moose. Pop-up power bomb on Moose by Elgin. Then we see the buckle bomb, which I still hate. Moose fires up, comes back with a desperation, no jackhammer needed for 1 count. So Elgin just killed that move dead. Hernandez hits a spine buster on Moose, but Elgin pulls him out and tries to steal the pin. Doesn't happen. We go outside the ring, and we see a referee get glommed in the middle of this. Moose hits a no jackhammer needed on Homicide and picks up the win. So Moose, who's now the TNA champion, which is a dead promotion, is now also the Impact champion, which is a live promotion, which I suppose we could bring it back to being called TNA Impact, or call Moose a double champion, or dance a cha-cha in our underwear. There's no point to any of this, but Moose pronounces himself the TNA World Champion, establishing himself as the interim champion until Tessa can come back. So now you're telling me that we're supposed to believe that Tessa and Moose is a match that we should care about. If Tessa wins, Moose is killed dead. If Moose wins, then all the work of building up Tessa is for nothing. Either way, this is a bad idea. The card is, they tried, the talent tried, but it's just, this was horrible. And what scares me is that I still have SmackDown to watch this week. That really scares me a lot. Anyway, Scott Golden and Pro Wrestling Logic here. Comment below. Am I too harsh? What did you think of this? Did you even bother watching it? Did more than 10 people watch this on the entire planet? Let me know. Anyway, till next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.